Welcome to the Tuesday Review. I'm James.
I'm Nathan.
And I'm Callan.
And tonight we are reviewing The Invisible Man.
Ooh.
Can't see me.
John Cena?
John Cena. That's right, everyone.
He was the bad guy all along.
So, yeah. I mean, if you're listening and you haven't seen the movie, I would say it's good and go watch it.
Also,
The long and short of it is...
yeah, it's good. Go watch
good.
it. But also for listeners, I would say a slight content warning, themes, and
Oh, I reckon, like, if you suffer, like, anxiety, it'll definitely give you that.
no, but
like
like
it'll-
also the themes
or
we'll
if-
be discussing and the themes in the
Domestic
movie
abuse.
Oh,
relating
yeah.
to domestic violence
Yeah,
and sexual assault
suicide,
and
yeah.
suicide. I would say so. There might be a little bit of a content warning for listeners for this episode.
Maybe, yeah.
A trigger warning. Is
Yeah,
what
trigger
is there,
warning.
yeah.
Triggering, yeah, maybe. Yeah, I guess, yeah, if you have problems with that, like seeing the movie might. But I think that's what makes it so effective, is because the whole movie I kept getting, like, really anxious. Like, I think that's why the movie works. Because I was just like, come on, you know?
I liked the first half,
Yeah,
but I can see why they chose the direction they went in for the second half.
yeah.
But I thought the script kind of nosedived in the second half.
Oh, really?
So the first half is kind of like this paranormal activity kind of thing. And I like that. I thought that was a really interesting take.
Yeah,
But then when it gets to the second half, which we'll talk about,
yeah.
I thought that was kind of cliche. I saw the twists coming.
Okay.
And everyone's on the internet. It's like unexpected twist. Or I'm like, nah, I saw it coming a mile away. And there's a whole bunch of plot holes that me and our friend Jake, friend of the show,
Yeah.
we're like, well, why isn't this happening? What's going on
Yeah.
here?
Well, maybe we'll talk. We'll get to that
so-
soon because I didn't really have that many problems with it. It's
Like-
not a perfect movie. It's not a
thought
great movie.
I thought it wasn't like a bad film. I thought
Yeah.
it was okay. But people are heaping praise on this film.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons it's, for me, so impressive, one, as a thriller, I think it worked really well.
It works well as a thriller.
Yeah.
There is a lot of
It-
good tension.
I
agree with
I was
that.
engaged the whole time, and there was a lot of tension, and like I said, I was feeling very anxious, and also it was made for like under $10 million.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
it was
honestly,
shot-
that's impressive. But for the first half of the movie, you don't see the bad guy. So
Well,
the
yeah.
CG budget was...
See,
mi-
no,
I
but
like
that's
that.
the thing.
But that's good, yeah.
But that's the thing, is what you can do
Yeah.
with such
With your
small
imagination,
money.
yeah.
It's like we were talking about last week, all these great big sci-fi movies with these big budgets and yada. It's like you don't need that to
Yeah,
make an
exactly.
effective movie.
That's right.
To make
What we're
a-
saying, you take the central theme.
Yeah. It's about the story and the characters, and it's about how you use that budget. It was shot in Australia. It uses its scares effectively. It uses its time very effectively. No scene is wasted. You know, it's like a focused story. There's not a lot of characters. You know,
Yeah.
so it's what you do with the budget, how you know. Most we'll talk about this soon. Most studios shovel in $200 million to make this CGI fest, and the movie tanks because it's
Yeah.
shit and it looks like crap.
yeah.
When you can make a 10 mil movie like this and
Yeah.
people go nuts for it, and it's doing extremely well.
Yeah.
To sort of contrast it to, I guess, its closest modern analog, Hollow Man. Like,
Yeah.
that movie used a lot of CG and a lot
That's
of...
a very different movie.
That's, obviously, we're not
Yeah.
talking about... They're very different movies.
Yeah, because
but that movie deals a lot more heavily in CG.
yeah. So the thing with it, because I love the 1933 Invisible Man is my second favorite Universal monster movie. My favorite is Creature from the Black Lagoon,
Yeah.
and then The Invisible Man. And I also love Hollow Man. Great movie. People don't like it. They think it's shit. It's fucking awesome. I don't care what anyone
It's a
says.
good movie.
Yeah.
But I'm sort of just talking about the CG.
But that's my next point. Is those movies are like science fiction movies about a mad genius who turns invisible. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like then shit hits the fan, and he tries to kill people, and they try to reveal him, and this movie is like a psychological thriller. The Invisible Man part of it, it's an important part of it, but it's not told from that perspective. It's told from the main character Cecilia's perspective.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I think it's it's not just a remake of the original Invisible Man.
Yeah,
you know?
it's a very different reinterpretation.
Exactly. And I like that about it.
Yeah, but that's what I was saying, is I like how they handle the approach to the man going invisible. Because in Hollow Man, I would argue one of the weaker parts of the movie is its almost over-reliance somewhat on the CG. element of like seeing him in infrared and like there's
I
not enough subtle.
disagree. I think one of the things I like about... Look, I'm just going to say one more thing and we'll go straight into spoilers because I got so many things to say just on that point alone. But yeah, I think it's The Invisible Man 2020, really good movie. Lee Winnell, the director, is Aussie guy. He did Upgrade, which is a really great, underrated sci-fi movie, also shot in Australia for a low budget. He's a director who you should keep an eye on because he's doing interesting things. He's doing it in Australia. He's an Aussie guy, and he's doing it for not $200 million a pop.
Yeah, that's it.
You know, which is impressive. So keep an eye on him. And this is one of the only reasons I wanted to see The Invisible Man is because I knew he was writing and directing it. Otherwise, from the trailer, you'd think, it's just a spooky, horror movie,
Yeah,
whatever.
typical Blumhouse movie.
Yeah, exactly. And Blumhouse is one of the other reasons I think this works because they kind of just know.
And they have a shoestring budget. Like,
It's like even though some of their movies are shit, it's like they know what they're doing. Like
Yeah.
Jason Blum knows what he's doing.
Definitely.
But yeah, I think if you're listening to this and you haven't seen The Invisible Man, I'd recommend it. I think it's a good movie. It's not great. It has a lot of problems, which we'll get to.
I would recommend it, even though it was okay.
But I think one of the reasons it's a lot better than a lot of other horror movies is that it uses its resources so well. I think technically it's very impressive, even though it's not doing a whole lot of crazy stuff. What it is doing, it's doing well. So I recommend it. What you were saying before because the Hollow Man, one of the reasons I love it is because it's got that, we were talking about last week, sci-fi, that slow discovery, the first half of that movie.
The first 3/4
is
really.
the first half of that movie is just like they're testing the serum or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're trying to perfect it and it's not working and they're going to get their funding pulled. And that's what I like about it. It's that sci-fi stuff. And so even though it's got a lot of CGI and a lot of special effects, that's because that's what the movie's about. Whereas this, the Invisible Man 2020 version, is not about that. And that's what I like about it.
I'm not talking about the story element. I'm just talking about how well, for me, the visual effects worked.
Well, let's go into spoilers. So full spoiler warning. If you haven't seen the new version of The Invisible Man, if you haven't seen the original or Hollow Man, we might do some mild spoilers for that. But yeah, The Invisible Man especially, spoiler warning. But
I'm talking about how well The Invisible Man worked visually for me compared to Hollow Man.
But that's what I'm saying is I feel like Hollow Man, even though some of the CGI is a bit wobbly, most of it is extremely impressive, especially when you take into account that it came out in 2000.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying it wasn't impressive for the day. I just feel like...
Even now, I think a lot of it stands up really well,
Yeah.
especially considering how hard they had to work to make it, like to have Kevin Bacon like in a green screen suit, but also have the features of his face. So they had to paint him green, including green eye contacts, which fucking hurt, and then like to blow water or smoke onto him, and then digitally remove him. Back then, I mean, now that's hard to do. Back then, you can imagine, insane. The special effects in that movie, I think, are fantastic. But the new Invisible Man, it's not doing that. It's the Invisible Man part of it is...
It's
more simple.
It's simpler, and this is obviously, we'll probably talk about this later, but I like how they handle the first half of it a little bit more than I like how they handle the second half of it. But that's story related reasons.
Yeah.
Because like the first half of the movie, I was thinking it's an allegory for domestic abuse, domestic violence and abuse.
Yeah.
Is the first half of me had me guessing, is he really there at all?
Well, see, that's what I was going to say, actually, is this is a movie where if they revealed at the end that there was no Invisible Man, I would have been happy with it.
Yeah, I said to Jack, I'm like, that is a Shyamalan twist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's a good old school twist.
I think when you've got a movie that's strong like this, it can go either way. He's real or he's not real. Either way, the main character is affected and must overcome that problem.
Yeah.
I watched Horse Girl on Netflix, and the whole central thing of that movie is like, is she crazy or is she telling the truth? And at the end of the movie, it's ambiguous, but I was like, either way, this movie's not interesting. Like, if it's real, I want to see all that cool real stuff. Reveal that to me.
Yeah.
Explore that. If it's not real,
'Cause
I don't need you to telegraph it to me.
Yeah.
But you need to explore that. What does that mean for the character and
Yeah.
the people around her? And The Invisible Man is a movie where if it wasn't real and she was crazy, I'm like, that's just as an interesting movie.
Yeah.
Because of the way
And
the
also,
story is told.
The man's invisible in a different way.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. The titles.
And and because it ties in with the domestic abuse thing of
Yeah.
like the invisible man is not a physical
It's a
man.
mental.
Yeah, that's
or a-
why he's invisible.
A threatening presence.
Yeah, but he is real in the
Yeah.
movie, and he is
Yeah.
invisible. And I think one of the reasons the movie works is because, like I said before, it's told from Cecilia's perspective. It's not about the invisible man. One of the things I love about the original Invisible Man and Hollow Man is that kind of mad genius, mad scientist thing. And you see the process of him, becoming
Yeah.
the Invisible Man, and you see him trying to live with being invisible. You see with him trying to interact with people, when he's wearing clothes and the bandages in the original, or the rubber face
The
in the
creepy
Hollow Man,
edge.
which is so cool. It's like, that's what I love about it. It's like that process, that discovery, that invention. This movie, it's not about that at all.
It removes it pretty much.
At first, I was a bit disappointed because that's what I love about the Invisible Man trope, if you can call it that. But then I realized it's like, that's not what the movie's about. The movie's about Cecilia and her journey. The Invisible Man is just that. He's the Invisible Man. He is the man who will forever haunt
Yeah.
Cecilia if she lets him. Which is why I wasn't too sure about the ending at first. I was a bit off-put by it. But then I realized, like, that's the point of the movie. She had to do something because
Yeah.
it's up to her.
So I guess
She's taking the power back.
I guess we should start. I would give a brief plot description so we can deconstruct the
Yeah.
film. So it starts off with Cecilia having already made her plans to escape
Yeah,
And
she's in an
she's in an
abusive relationship
with Adrian.
with Adrian, who's like a wealthy tech
Optics.
optical engineer.
yeah. inventor.
Like basically military grade optical technology.
Yeah, and she, like, the first opening scene is just her trying to escape from an
Yeah.
abusive relationship. I like that they don't try to show flashbacks.
They don't
of,
explain
like,
it. Like
it's
they don't
like,
have to hold your hand and show it.
Yeah, it's just like, we know through the situations, like, she has to get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
And then she escapes to her sister's place. No, her sister picks her up,
And there's
but she goes...
And there's a really tense scene when he's trying to get.
Oh yeah, that's
He's-
fucked up.
And I wasn't expecting him to put his fist through the window.
Yeah.
And that was really intense.
Yeah. Yeah, and then she's staying with her friend James, who's also a cop, and she's trying to get over the fact, that
She becomes a bit agoraphobic. She can't leave the house.
she can't leave the
Yeah.
house because he's out there. He's out
Yeah,
there.
and
He's
'cause
gonna
he'll
come
find
find
me,
me.
he'll
Yeah.
Because she understands he's a genius, and if she does anything outside of the home, there's a chance he could pick up that
Yeah.
movement, like whether it's internet based or
Yeah.
or whatever. Like he'll track her down.
Yeah. And then he kills himself, Adrian, the
Yeah.
boyfriend. And so she finally feels free to live her life. But then she starts getting stalked by an invisible entity,
Presence.
which of course everyone doesn't believe her, but she knows it's Adrian because he's a optics genius,
Yeah.
technological.
And she seems a bit crazy to the outside world.
Yeah, which is kind of, ties into what we were just talking about, where it's like, that's the point of the movie, is like, no one believes her, no one believes
Yeah.
the victim. It's like the abuse goes beyond him physically being there, and it goes into the interactions with her family and so on.
And it somewhat escalates. At sort of in the beginning, he's just torturing her.
Yeah.
And then he escalates things, and he hits James's daughter Sydney.
Yeah.
Making it look
make
like
it look like
yeah.
Cecilia did it.
He's doing the classic abuser thing of
Yeah.
alienating her from her
Yeah.
support system, which is her family
So,
and friends.
She basically gets told to get the fuck out.
Yeah.
It's also he also gaslight. In a way, it's gaslighting.
He gets
as
it.
well.
Yeah. The whole movie, it's like
Makes her
Gaslight.
question her sanity.
Yeah, it's like Gaslight, the 2020 horror tech version. Because then he frames her for her sister's murder, and then she gets put in like a mental hospital. Like,
Yeah.
But somehow she's pregnant,
No,
somehow.
she was pregnant from when they were still dating.
No, but it's recent.
No, yeah, it was for a month, and she's been living with James for longer than that.
This is.
So-
I feel like
no,
there's.
no.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll defer to you
If-
there,
if
but it
they-
seemed
Yeah,
in the movie like it was very recent.
If they were gonna,
I feel like there might be a deleted scene somewhere.
if they were gonna reveal that, that's if that is the case, that's a big mistake in the movie that needed to be revealed.
Yeah.
Got the impression that it was recent because she had just left him not long before.
Oh, but
The
no-
only title
So-
card we see is 2 weeks later. So even if it's 2 months after she's moved in, it's still not a big gap enough that that she didn't know she was
I got
pregnant.
the feeling more time had passed. I
No,
don't know.
I don't think that's no.
Okay.
Yeah. So she finds out she's pregnant, and Adrian's like obsessed with her having
baby,
Yeah,
yeah.
and
And this
so
forces him to reveal himself,
Yeah.
basically.
pretty much.
So I think I really enjoyed for me the first half was like the best part of the film.
Yeah.
because I enjoyed that.
When she's like in bed and the blanket comes off.
I'm like
yeah.
classic Paranormal Activity move.
Yeah.
I love that kind of that stuff in the home where she's just staring at a wall like I know you're there. I'm like that's the best part.
One thing I loved about this movie is more than any other Invisible Man movie is like just shots of like the corner of the room.
Yeah.
And I kept looking at things. I'm like, is something going to move? Where is
See,
he?
That's what I liked a lot.
Yeah.
And because it's like low budget stuff, like
Yeah.
you don't need to spend a lot of money
Exactly.
to aim a camera at a wall, and
Yeah.
and
Put some tense music there.
the
Yeah.
audience fills in the picture, right? It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you know he's there. You're like, I see you.
Yeah, but then I started questioning. I'm like, he's probably not there.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter either way
Because you don't know. Yeah.
Because you don't know. It's like the whole point is like that you're scared that he is there.
But see, I think that the mistake was about halfway through, maybe just over halfway through. They start to reveal Adrian, and then the suit he wears
Yeah.
to
And
achieve
the movie's
the
tone somewhat shifts. It's a little more action heavy.
It definitely,
a little...
it definitely ramps up the action.
So
Not excessively.
There were a couple of plot holes, I feel. Not so much plot holes, but so the film is set in either 2018, 19, or 2020. I can't
It's set
remember
in present day, 2020.
So it's like there's like when Adrian kills her sister.
Yeah.
There's like a floating knife cuts her across. Everyone's like she murdered her sister, and Jake's like, "You're telling me there's no CCTV in this
Yeah,
inner city
but-
restaurant that will possibly capture
Yeah.
a magical floating knife?"
But we
And-
don't see the investigation. We just know she hasn't been charged with
No, I know.
anything. She's being held at the mental institute.
And then, but hold on, fast forward to the mental institution when
Yeah.
she tries to, because she knows Adrian's in the, well, she doesn't know, but
Yeah.
she suspects he's in the room. So she tries to kill herself, and
Yeah.
then all hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
Because Adrian is, in fact, in the room.
Yeah.
And the guard comes in, he tases the guard, and there's like a whole action
Yeah, there's
scene.
a fight scene.
Now, Jake goes, again, she doesn't even need to do anything anymore.
No,
Because once they
but-
pull the seat, because this is 2020,
Yeah.
there's cameras in all the mental cells, there'd be cameras in the hallways.
But the point, like, she could literally just sit there and let him run away, and
Yeah.
then they could come, put her back in the cell, and they could review the footage and see, obviously, there's something weird going on. And yeah, but that wouldn't make a very good movie, or at the very least, it would be a very different movie. Whereas the whole point of the movie is just like, I need to stop this now. And also, she knows Sydney is in danger. So it's like it keeps the momentum going. And then when Tom is killed, because the brother is...
He didn't say Sydney. No. So he was like, I'm going to go get Sydney after the car park stuff.
Oh, yeah. I mean, fair enough. Yeah, she went
No,
to the
but-
car park when she didn't quote unquote need to.
No, but my point was, I feel like they should have had just a little bit more in the film
Yeah.
of detectives looking at camera footage,
Yeah.
and maybe Adrian scrubs the
well-
footage.
Well, see,
you know what I mean, or something like that.
That's one thing I'll agree with you with is that James is a cop, so you already have a character who is
like-
in that world.
Like
So
I said, you don't even need to. It doesn't
definitely-
even have to be a problem. Adrian can
Yeah.
hack the cameras or some
yeah,
sci-fi
but
shit.
I don't
like,
think they even needed to hack the cameras thing. I'm like, at that point, he's caught.
Yeah.
But the whole twist of like it was the brother
Yeah.
is what makes, so it's like, oh, well, the brother's dead, so Adrian can keep getting away with
Yeah.
it. Like the fact that they have footage and evidence
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
matter. And that's the point.
Yeah, at a certain
So I
point
don't think it's
also,
that much of a problem.
I'm not talking about it a problem from Adrian's perspective. I'm talking about the context of Cecilia believing she's crazy,
Yeah.
and everyone thinking she might be a suspect.
Yeah.
I'm like, the cameras which aren't there in the movie, which you don't see them in the film.
Yeah, I just assumed cameras were there, but
Yeah,
they
we
just
assumed
never
they
came
weren't
up
because
because of the way the story unfolds.
Yeah, but I'm like, I feel like Cecilia should have used that more in her arc.
Yeah.
To be like, look at the footage. I'm not crazy. Look at the footage,
Yeah.
and they're like, whatever. Let
There
you do it.
definitely probably should have been one
At least
shot,
one scene.
scene of James and his partner
Looking at
the
footage.
footage and being like, okay, we need to let her out or whatever.
Yeah, that's
Which is kind of, they technically do that, but they don't have that scene.
well, no,
Because then she follows Tom to the house.
Well,
and then
that's a bit different. I mean, they're like, the reason she gets I won't say a free pass, but the reason she gets let out is because you have all these cops who are like, oh, an invisible man literally shot me in the knee or whatever. I'm like, it's not like cameras. It's like, no, he was physically there.
Yeah, but I feel like for me, I didn't see that as a problem. The cameras were there. It's just a character on screen didn't say, we have footage. Like, I just assumed there were cameras there because it's 2020 and every government building would have cameras.
I didn't see. I did look for him and I didn't see him.
I mean, if you physically don't see it, now most security cameras are like here, like where...
The inference being a secure hospital, there would be cameras.
Yeah.
That's not the issue. The issue is, I feel like, for a lot of the time, everyone's just assuming what cameras... Everyone's assuming she was a suspect when there should have been... Usually there's more of a... I know that's not the point of the movie, but usually there will be more of like... She can be like, well, look, this happened in a public place, let's check the cameras.
Yeah, but see, I was... Because the way the movie plays out, you don't see the police investigation. Yeah. You don't see them reviewing the footage. She's never been charged. She's not in prison. She's being held at a mental institute until trial. So... Technically, there could have been a scene later on if the movie didn't go, if she didn't try to kill herself. There could have been a scene later on where they're like, yeah, the knife is floating. What does that mean? Yeah. Because obviously no one's going to believe that it's an invisible man or that it's a ghost or whatever.
She just gets locked away for unlawful use of telekinesis.
But because she tries to kill herself, then Adrian is forced to reveal himself. So the movie plays out in a way where the problems aren't really that big of problem.
The only other problem I have, and this is actually a little smaller than the camera issue, is it seems to me like they gave him augmented strength when he's in the suit. Yeah. I'm like, that should have been explained. Yeah. Because you just have a dude literally throwing tables and throwing people across rooms like he's an X-Man or something. Well, I'm like,
here's the other thing.
He's an invisible man. He's not Colossus.
Yeah, here's the other thing is because one thing I like about the movie, like I said before, usually I like the whole mad scientist invention, you know, the process. But in this, it's like that's not what the movie's about. Yeah, there could have been long scenes of exposition about the tech. There could have been a close-up of the computer screen with enhanced strength written on it. But that's not the point.
No, but he still like throws tables, like big tables. I'm like,
but it's like,
man.
But really, like I said to you, because of the way the movie plays out, it's not really a problem.
Yeah, but
is it the suit or is he maybe just roided out? I mean, he's a healthy young guy.
He gets shot 4 times in the chest, and he's like still going. Argh.
Maybe the suit has armor. We know it's
he's
military.
Like bleeding. He's like bleeding out and stuff.
You get shot through armor and bleed.
To be fair, I assume that the suit would have some sort of strength to it.
Yeah, like it's a military application.
Yeah, I would imagine like you can be shot. Doesn't mean the bullets went deep.
I mean, you can be.
I feel like we're all being a little kind.
It's
not a huge problem. I'm just like,
but that's the thing. Sitting there watching the movie, was never a problem.
The suit strength and the and sort of the man strength or whatever, what have you.
Yeah,
that wasn't a big deal for me in this film.
It just made me think. I'm like, he's chucking like. I'm like,
and I was like, okay, there could be many reasons. It could be the suit. It could be he's roided out.
I just put it down to
it could be the stylization of it being a horror movie, and the villain in the horror movie is always strong.
I just put it down to like he's in some sort of tech suit, so he's probably.
I think though, like it would have been interesting if there was a scene of him like injecting drugs or something. Like,
that's my point. That's my point. That's
Hollow Man.
That's the stuff I love from The Invisible Man, the original, and Hollow Man. That's the stuff I want to see. But that's a different movie. And one of the reasons I like this movie the way it is because they never really delve into the tech. In the same way they didn't feel the need to do flashbacks or scenes of the abusive relationship. They don't feel the need to explain the tech, to explain Adrian's, genius or his history, to explain the relationship with his brother. It's like that's all inferred or is implied, through the what happens throughout the film.
Conversations and
so it's like I would have loved scenes in this movie where Adrian's tinkering and the suit's not working and he's like, damn it, But that's a different movie.
No, I get you.
And also, one of the reasons I like this movie is because it's from Cecilia's perspective, and because it's about that abusive relationship. You're taking the mad genius, misunderstood
out of
hero
the equation.
out of the equation, and it's just about Cecilia's journey. And I think one of the strengths of this movie is we really don't even see Adrian properly until the very end of the film, when he's
trying to win her back.
Quote unquote, found to be kidnapped, and then he's like in his house again, and she goes to visit him.
I wonder how much he got paid, because I bet it's a stuntman doing all the
yeah, probably. But it's like, that's what I liked about the movie.
Yeah.
Is like the focus isn't on the abuser, the focus isn't on the monster, the focus is on Cecilia. Because in most horror movies, in most thrillers or whatever, it's like we see the movie through the villains, even if it's not from their point of view, we see their journey. You know, this takes the power away from the Invisible Man by making him invisible the whole movie, and then when he does show up, it's like she's finally now in charge. She takes the power back. That's why I like the ending. When I first saw the ending, I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. But I thought about it. I'm like, no, I like the ending.
You were just worried Tom Cruise was going to show up and be like, I'm here to invite you to my team.
Oh, so here's the thing. Here's the thing. Fucking Universal, they tried to start their dark universe.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, right? They did Dracula Untold, which was supposed to be like... It was like the MCU-ification of the old Universal horror movies, like the monsters. They're like, oh, we're going to reboot Dracula, Frankenstein, Invisible Man, The Mummy, and we're going to make them cool like an MCU-style connected universe. It's like no one saw Dracula Untold. Also, if I'm not mistaken, it was PG-13. It was very much an attempt...
I didn't even see it.
No, I never saw it. It was very much an attempt to make it a safe kind of superhero movie, but with Dracula. And from what I understand of the movie, the Dracula in that movie, he's like, yeah, he does bad things, but he's a nice guy. You know, it's that kind of thing.
Yeah, the Disneyfication almost.
And then that movie didn't do well, and then they kind of ignored it, and then like, but now we got Tom Cruise for The Mummy. So it's like, now...
Not a bad movie.
It's
not
like,
a bad movie.
No. It's bad. It's only... You only like it because Tom Cruise is in it. We've talked about this before.
I'll sell you on it one day.
Let's confine the scope here.
But anyway, they did, The Mummy, and it's like now we're doubling down on this dark universe where they released a logo and they cast Russell Crowe was Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde in the movie.
Yeah.
And Javier Bardem was announced as Frankenstein monster, and Johnny Depp was announced as the Invisible Man. And I think Angelina Jolie was going to play Bride of Frankenstein, and there was someone else, I think, as well.
Unfortunately, the movie didn't do well.
Yeah, and the movie didn't do well. And again, a PG-13. They tried to turn The Mummy into a MCU-style superhero movie where Tom Cruise becomes a super mummy at the end or something.
Yeah, kind of.
And that flopped, and it's like, well, they can't do that. And now it's like they still have the rights, so it's like they're obviously going to keep churning movies like this out. But they did the smart thing of partnering with Blumhouse. I don't know if they have any previous association. And then they got Leigh Whannell, who's a lower budget, quote unquote indie filmmaker, to write and direct it. And it wasn't part of a dark universe. It wasn't part of a MCU.
It's just using that right to make a good independent.
And guess what happened, guys? They made a good movie. So
against all the odds.
This is what we talk about on the show all the time. Just focus on making one good movie.
Yeah, you listening, DC?
If it does, if it does do well, then you think about what else can we do with it.
Yeah, that's right.
But they're doing with Star Wars, they're trying to do with everything now. They're constantly trying to make everything the MCU. Everything has to be a huge interconnected universe of a million movies, safe PG-13, superhero-esque, even if it doesn't call for it. And the Universal monsters don't call for that kind of treatment.
I mean, what are they going to do once the universe is set up? Fight the good guys?
Yeah, but that's the thing is like they make the Mummy. He's not such a bad guy because he's Tom Cruise and he was forced into it. They made Dracula the nice Dracula. And they probably do it with Johnny Depp as well. He's like, oh, he was a nice invisible man, you know.
Yeah.
The Frankenstein monster, you know, he's
just misunderstood.
Yeah, which is technically true. But, you know, like, it's like they're supposed to be monster movies. They're supposed to be horror movies. And the great thing about The Invisible Man is that that's what it is. It's a horror movie. It's a thriller. It's like they didn't try to make Adrian the good guy, but what they did, even though this might, whether it was intentional or not, they did kind of set up the Invisible Woman at the end, which I don't want them to make.
No.
But you can see my point of, if you just make one good movie, then you could probably make a sequel to this and make it pretty interesting. Like, she's a vigilante who helps abused women or something. It's dumb and they shouldn't do it, but all you have to do is make one good movie.
Yeah.
Don't try to make an MCU style interconnected universe. Don't try to make a horror monster universe into a safe PG-13. Everyone's nice now.
Exactly. If you think about, if we take a step back and look at the board as a whole here, this movie being any good was actually very, very unlikely.
Yeah,
with giant rights issues and the studio actually siding with a smaller director on a smaller budget.
Yeah.
And actually having a good movie made on a smaller scale than just having a $200 million blowout.
But you see, it's like what we always talk about. You see what happens when you don't spend $200 million on a CGI crap fest. When you make something more focused, more lower budget, you don't try to automatically start a 20-movie franchise. When you just go, okay, we got the rights to Invisible Man, what are we going to do? 10 mil, an Aussie director who's made some interesting films, you know, Blumhouse, he's got a good track record.
And I feel like that's the thing. A lot of these major studios as well, they need to go to houses like Blumhouse and companies like Blumhouse and the
A24.
And I feel like
they've lost the pulse.
Because it's like you've got companies like Netflix churning out movies of this sort of 10 mil, 20 mil films.
Yeah.
Like a dime a fucking dozen, yeah?
Yeah.
And so these, really, the big picture companies need to be competing and going to Blumhouse and A24 and the other smaller niche, I guess.
But it's like, you know, we always talk about big studios, they don't take risks anymore. They're always playing it safe. But what they continue to do is make $100 or $200 million films that bomb.
But that's ironically the safe option.
But that's the thing.
That's like, what they say the safe option is.
Is that the safe option when you can spend 10 mil on a movie
and make 100 mil
and make so much more?
But look now.
But if it does flop, you lost 10 mil. You know, like
this kind of enters the realm of politics a little bit. But I was looking at reviews for The Invisible Man on my phone earlier in the day, and there were a couple people who were like, "Oh, I didn't like it. It panders to the Me Too movement." I'm like, that's probably what the big studios want to avoid, is they want to make a tentpole movie that's not going to alienate some incels or whatever on the internet, so they get the most money they possibly can. Whereas in The Invisible Man, it is definitely leaning towards a certain political view, but hitting women is bad.
It's not leaning to a political
That's
view
not a political view. It's like, that's a morally right thing.
I agree, but it's upsetting people on the internet.
But the people who are getting upset at this movie are probably
the wrong
types of people. I'm trying really hard not to generalize. But if you're upset about a movie that paints domestic violence in a negative light, it's like that's not on. That's on you.
Yeah, that's your problem.
I don't think anyone's out there being like, "Yeah, get her, Adrian."
But also, like, we always talk about, though, it's like, it's a good movie, and also it's a good movie because of the way it's made and the story and the other. And it's also a good movie because of the way it deals with
I think it handles
the point of view.
I think it handles post-traumatic stress.
You can't say it's a bad movie because you're an incel who hates women.
I think that there are just people who don't want... You know, there's that thing where there's people on the internet who say, "Oh, stop putting politics in my video games."
Yeah.
It's the same demographic.
People don't want issues in their films.
It makes them uncomfortable to think about, and so they don't like it.
Yeah, and so that's why they, like, studios always make the safe, boring PG-13...
But these are the kind of movies we need now.
Yeah, but
movies with issues.
Exactly. But also movies that are well made and don't have like a million trillion special effects shots and aren't made for $1 million trillion. And that,
the special effects in this film look better than some of the CG we get in, like, you know, $300 million movies.
Because they can probably spend a bit more on the CG because there's much less of it.
There's less of it, and they can take more time on it. It's like they're focused on, this is what we have to do. Everything else is practical or, you know, is scaled down.
Yeah,
But that's like what we were talking before with Hollow Man. It's like the special effects in that was so impressive because at the time they couldn't really do that. Now you could do the special effects in The Invisible Man pretty much on your home computer. But it's like we took 20 years to get to the point where you could do something like that, quote unquote, easily or cheaply. And it's not easy, it's not cheap, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But they're not doing half the stuff they were doing in Hollow Man, in Invisible Man. If they had to, and they only had $10 million budget, they couldn't do it. Even with the home computer, the fact that technology has come so far, they couldn't get
even from a time perspective.
Yeah, exactly. They couldn't get anywhere near close to it. But that's not the movie they're trying to make.
Like, going back to what you were saying before, like, it would have been I wouldn't say a much more interesting movie, but it would have piqued my interest a little bit more if it turns out at the end there was no Adrian. If he did kill himself.
But see, in that case, it shouldn't have been an Invisible Man movie. Yeah. Because even though, like we're saying, it shouldn't be a dark universe, it shouldn't be connected. It could have been called something different. Yeah, but that would still have been a good movie.
Because I would have loved a movie. This is all in my head, where we see all the sort of paranormal stuff going on, like all the Invisible Man antics, and then at the end you see like she's at court or something, and you see all the video evidence of her doing everything,
doing it. Yeah,
and that would have been kind of cool as well. So they're both movies that could talk about, like. That also could have been a movie that deals with, the effects of abuse, domestic violence, PTSD, and all that cycles of abuse.
But
or I would have also liked to have seen a movie, I guess it's a different movie, of course, a movie slightly closer to Hollow Man, where we see it from both Tom and Adrian's perspective, two psychopaths just tearing it up.
See, like, to me, that would be because I love that. Like I said, I love
that's
that.
A different
I love
movie
that mad
entirely.
science, but that's a different movie. And the way the movie is, if they did add any of those scenes,
it's a different movie. I wouldn't have liked it. I wouldn't have changed this movie from what it is.
Yeah,
but I also would have liked to see a version of like sort of both sides that this movie sort of plays with a little bit.
Yeah, but I mean, I think just the idea of an invisible man, not specifically the universal, the Invisible Man, is just fun, and you could do that again in another few years. But this version, as it stands, I like the fact that it didn't just remake the original. Yeah. It didn't just do another Hollow Man.
Yeah, it did something different.
It did something different. And it did it from a different perspective, and it did it in a way where you didn't need all that stuff. Because if you start adding that in, it takes focus away from Cecilia and her dilemma, But me especially, as we talked about, like, I would love the mad scientist and all the tech stuff, But that's a different movie.
It is different.
And that's also a movie we've already seen in like Hollow Man and Invisible Man and other films. But yeah, like, I feel like, I mean, it's not a perfect movie by any means. It's not great. But I just feel like...
It's different.
It's refreshingly different.
It's refreshingly different. It's a refreshing reimagination of a trope at this point. But also, because of the Dark Universe connection, it's such an impressive movie because of what it does, and it does it so well.
And what it really signifies as well.
What you can do when you don't spend $200 million on CGI crap.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. Look, watching the movie, I didn't realize the budget was that low.
Yeah, it's filmed in
Australia, that really goes to show you can still make a really good movie from a major picture house, studio, for a low budget.
Yeah, it's the studios need to. They need to do more like this. Now, they shouldn't do it for every movie. Obviously, some movies need a bigger budget.
I mean, the only problem is Blumhouse is obviously horror sort of adjacent for the most part. I think they've done a couple of non-strictly horror movies.
Probably,
But I think most of their output is mostly just horror. We need more other studios like A24 that are doing smaller scoped indie films. I feel like most of these, because horror movies generally...
Yeah, to be fair, horror movies are usually cheap and usually do well.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. A lot of these, unfortunately, a lot of the smaller studios, like A24, and like they're usually only horror focused, the smaller ones.
Yeah. We
need more smaller scoped production studios making these films for with the big motion picture studios.
Yeah, I mean, and also, yeah, like with Upgrade or something, like expanding out into other genres.
Exactly.
Because to be fair, you know, we keep saying they need more movies, like, but horror is quote unquote easy to do for this budget, and it's pretty much guaranteed to make it if not to be successful, then to at least make its budgets back.
Yeah.
You know, so on one hand, it's like, yeah, okay, it's
easier said than done. Yeah.
But I feel like it ties into what we were talking about last week, where if you have a good idea, if you had good story and characters, that comes first. Then the special effects and all that come on top. But you don't need to spend $200 million on CGI crap flying around.
Exactly.
When you know, if you know what you're doing.
It goes back to what you were saying just before. Like, you know, you can take a gamble, and some of the $100 million movies don't make the money back. They don't do close. They bomb. You know, well, take a gamble and make a $10 million movie. If it does well, it does well. If it bombs, you only lost 10 instead of 100.
Exactly. That's what we were saying. It's like they're playing it safe by making $200 million movies, hoping they'll make $1 billion, but in they end up losing all that $200 million. Where it's like they should be making $10 million movies, you know, and hoping to make a few $100 million.
You know, and like, then, but also in, I guess, somewhat related news, you have companies like Disney buying Fox, and Fox Searchlight is now limiting, because obviously Fox Searchlight being this, you know, the subsidiary of Fox, it really does more of the more interesting movies.
Yeah. And
they've been limited to like 4 movies a year or something stupid like that now. Because they're not making as much money as they used to.
That was going to be my next point, is a lot of the discussion we just had now is about budget. Yeah. Like, they're spending $200 million when they should be spending $10 million. It's not just about the budget. Like we were talking about last week, it's a fact that these studios lack creativity, they lack vision, and they're run by bean counters and or algorithm. You know,
and part of it is Disney not wanting to compete with itself. Yeah. But at the same time,
but it's like it's all going to the same place at the end of the day. But it's like, that's the thing, is they don't need to just take risks financially. They need to take risks creatively. But that when we say risks, that doesn't mean going crazy. Exactly. It means, you know, next time you make a Star Wars movie, let's just pick on that, don't spend so much money on it and it's just all CGI things flying around. You know, figure out what's the story you want to tell, you know.
Start with the script first.
Yeah. Then you go, okay, well, we'll use mostly practical effects and, you know, do a smaller scale, you know, maybe set on 1 or 2 planets. You know?
A smaller scoped story is fine.
Why does it always have to be 20 planets, stuff flying around, guys yelling and running?
Spoiler alert for the bean counters at Disney. Nerds are still going to show up to see the small budget Star Wars.
And the reason they do it that way is because they're afraid of, you know, people's attention spans. They're afraid of people getting lost. And it's like, people are going to, like you said, people are going to go see it anyway because it's Star Wars.
If they showed us a trailer for a smaller scoped, intimate Star Wars story, say, for example, a Western set on Tatooine.
Yeah.
However many years before.
I mean, The Mandalorian,
like
people love that shit.
Like Mandalorian, but not The Mandalorian. You know, we would be there day one.
Yeah.
As much as we hate Star Wars now, if they released a movie that was such a smaller scope, a $20 million Star Wars movie, I'd be down.
Studios are so afraid, like we were saying before, they're so afraid of alienating any one person, even if it's a terrible person that shouldn't be an audience, you know. It's like they're so afraid that they have to make a blanket appeal movie that's just bland and boring and safe. Whereas, like, they need to make a movie that's not crazy and out there. Star Wars doesn't have to be violent, or, you know, they don't have to make a Star Wars horror movie or whatever. But it's like, give the audience some credit.
Exactly.
And say, look, we don't have to just have everyone running and yelling and CGI stuff flying around.
Budget's not everything. CG doesn't mean the end of the world.
It's it's like, what's the story we want to tell?
Yeah.
You know, what is they need to just focus. You know?
Exactly.
That's what I like about The Invisible Man, is like, it's just a focused story. It's not about an MCU style universe. It's not about hand holding and exposition and saying, well, this is a flashback to show you this, you know. And it's getting a good response, and people are responding to it and doing very well. And you can do that in other situations.
And I feel like it's so unfortunate, though, because all the accountants and all the executives, and they go, oh, it's doing well because it's a horror movie.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, yes, but also we're not going to get any creative growth until they actually try and do this with another genre.
Yeah.
Because we're maintaining that sort of that cycle we'll call it a circle instead. Sorry, of like it's a horror movie made cheaply. It's going to make us money back. That's fine.
Yeah,
but it might apply to other things as well. Just give it a try.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that's the thing. Is like they need to try it with other genres, and they don't need to do it. But it's like they've got the MCU and they've got Star Wars and they've got Pixar and other Disney animation. So it's like. That's fine. Do that. Do whatever you want with that. That's lots of CGI, lots of running.
Yeah, there's hundreds, millions.
That's it. Okay, you also own Fox. You also own Touchstone, and I think, and a lot of other studio. I mean, Disney owns everything.
Who owns Miramax now?
I don't know. But it's like not every movie has to be a $1 trillion franchise. But that's because this is the problem with Disney, and it's the problem with corporations and capitalism. It's like there's no end game. It's like.
They was just increasing the top score.
If you made $1 billion last year, this year you have to make 2. Next year you have to make 3.
It's all about shareholders must be appeased.
Yeah,
it's all about growth.
Yeah, and it's like it's not about the creativity and it's not about the filmmaking and the storytelling. And they definitely should be focusing on, like I just said, we've got Star Wars, we've got MCU, we've got Disney, Pixar. Now that we're making our money off of that. What can we do on the other side? What can we do creatively? And stuff like Fox Searchlight was supposed to be like that because you had 20th Century Fox, which was like X-Men and Spider-Man, not Spider-Man.
Yeah, the bigger budget stuff.
The big budget stuff. And then you had
Fox Searchlight, which is a smaller budget
stuff.
Well,
you had Sony, which is like, James Bond and Spider-Man. And then you had Sony Pictures Classics, I think, which is smaller films, But now because Disney owns everything and because the landscape of cinema has changed to where everything has to be a franchise, everything has to be a superhero movie, they don't seem to be trying.
It's all just gone to Netflix.
And exactly, and we always talk about it's on streaming services now, mostly Netflix. But there are places like Blumhouse and A24 especially, where it's like they're doing, and like you said, it's like maybe the big studios need to take a leaf out of their page out of their book.
Exactly. Yeah. Like it's all about the problem with uninhibited growth is that it always leads to collapse eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how it works. With the economy, like with everything.
Yeah.
You can't have it's unsustainable growth. And that's what they're expecting out of the movie profits.
Yeah. They're expecting it to, because, people have been talking about this for a while. The bubble's going to burst with the superhero movies. I don't know if it is because it seems to getting bigger and bigger.
The problem is what they're doing is the bubble's not popping because all resources are being diverted to increase the bubble's strength.
Yeah.
So eventually, we're going to have a theatre landscape. We've talked about this before. Where the only movies out are these superhero movies.
Yeah.
Because all the other resources are going into that.
Yeah. Already we've talked about how there's not a lot of variety in mainstream cinema anymore.
Yeah. Not anymore.
It's very homogenous, very one, it's always, you don't get a lot of difference in
so the bubble won't pop. It'll never pop.
Yeah,
they just won't release interesting movies.
It'll just get to a point where there's no interesting movies
on theater screens,
theaters at all, and which is already kind of happening. Like Netflix and stuff is like the more interesting,
especially when the interesting movies some we do want to see, like The Lighthouse, don't even get released because.
But that's what I'm saying.
There's no point.
That's what I'm saying is like that's why we're in this situation. We're already in this situation where the mainstream movies that go to the mainstream cinemas are just superhero movies, are just animated movies, and the actual interesting movies we want to see go to smaller theaters or go straight to streaming.
Yeah,
but luckily though we got The Invisible Man. Handing it back in a little bit.
But that
also falls into the horror trap.
That's a horror movie, but also it's made by a big studio, so that the big studios need to be supporting movies like they used to in the 70s, and they can't just.
It's just a shame because, like, for every $100 million movie that bombs, we could be getting 5 to 10 really interesting mid-budget films.
It's like I talked about last week, where for one Avatar you could have 20 district or more District 9s, you know? So it's like for one Tom Cruise's The Mummy, you could have 20 or more Invisible Man 2020.
Exactly.
Invisible
You know?
Men.
Yeah, you could have so
We could
many
have the Invisible Men. Yeah.
Johnny Depp,
Not
John
just one
Cena.
Adrian. There's 20 Adrians.
Adrian clones.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, they I don't know. Like I hope that they don't see the success of this and say, all right, now we're going to churn out the Wolfman, churn out Frankenstein, churn out Dracula.
Look, I'm down, but keep it to 10, 20 million with interesting directors.
Yes, I also like. I really like Leigh Whannell, and I'm interested to see what he does next. But I hope they don't be like, let's get him to do our new Dark Universe 2.0.
Well, can we
Like,
have
I
the
hope
Wolfman
they just-
tackling toxic masculinity
I hope
next?
that I hope they just make we're going to make the Wolfman.
Yeah.
How do we make it different? You know, we've already had 20 million Wolfman movies. We've already had American Werewolf in London. We've already had how many other versions? It's like, how do we make it different? Who's got a good idea? If no one has a good idea soon, don't rush it. Don't try to force it into your MCU style thing.
Like, let's be realistic, man. How many scripts are the studio just sitting on?
Oh,
I'm sure they can find a
thousands.
fucking dozen to make for 10 to 20 mil.
Oh, the blacklist of great unproduced scripts is, you know, incredible, but also the ones we probably don't even know about.
Exactly.
It's another story. But also, like, Hollywood is made up of writers.
Exactly.
So that's what they did with Leigh Whannell. They went and they're like, oh, we got the rights to Invisible Man. What do you want to do with it?
Pitches.
And he's like, boop, 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 and this is what happened. So they can do that with the Wolfman. They can do that with Dracula, you know? But I think those movies are probably even harder to do because they're even more famous. The characters, you know, the stories have been even more told. So we'll see what happens, but I mean, I don't know. I'm not holding my breath, but hopefully this takes it into a better direction. Yeah, so I mean, who knows? I mean, hopefully they learn their lesson, but probably not.
Probably not. We talk a big game with optimism and hope and what they can do. But it's like this is a one-off.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying before. This movie was extremely fucking unlikely.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. It's like the odds that we got this movie in the way and shape and form
that it is,
and that it is was extremely unlikely to begin with.
Yeah. I mean, like hopefully they don't just see this and be like, oh, we're going to try, like I said, they're going to reboot the Dark Universe, but this time we're just going to do it smaller. Like, they should just make one-off movies.
Yeah, just make a good movie at a time.
Yeah.
Put one foot in front of the other. That's it.
Yeah, take it. I mean, that's the other thing.
Like they used to in the 90s, just one good movie at a time.
That's the other thing is like they're always thinking 20 movies ahead. No, well, that's the other thing. I mean, we're kind of just talking about franchises in general now, but it's like they think 20 movies ahead in terms of maybe money or like, you know, marketing projection. But in terms of the creative storytelling, they don't really know where they're going with it.
No, not at all.
So it's like they do and they don't think ahead.
We need to create a small studio and just go to Netflix and be like, we'll make you a movie for $500,000.
Yeah.
Like, we can do it.
I mean,
we'll make a fucking Leaving Las Vegas.
The Tuesday review story.
Yeah. We'll make a Leaving Las Vegas and just shoot without any permits on a handheld cam.
Yeah.
Like,
No shaky cam though.
No.
Hey, that movie won an Oscar.
No, but yeah, it didn't have shaky cam.
No, it didn't.
No,
We're not animals.
But they
it's
filmed
like,
illegally.
We want people to be able to see the movie.
Yeah.
Fucking. Just a couple more things I'll mention, and then we'll probably finish up. That Uber driver when he picks her up, and she's just like doing like 20-point turn, it's just like excruciating. It's like, come on, get out of there.
I was in the toilet for that scene.
Oh,
It was a good scene.
You got a tiny old lady bladder.
No, I smashed a bottle of water before the movie started.
Well, whose fault is that?
It's my fault.
Yeah.
Genius.
Yeah.
The handprint on the shower in the trailer, that's not in the movie.
No, it's not. I noticed that. I was like,
Which, on one hand, I was like, I kept waiting for it and it
Yeah.
didn't happen. And I was like, it added to my anxiety.
I was hoping for some sort of shower steam like effect. Like you might just see.
But see, you
I know that's
remember
close
how
to Hollow Man.
remember how we're talking about Hollow Man?
yeah.
I'm like, it's so impressive the way the steam goes across him, and you
Yeah.
see his features, which is so hard to do it in 2000.
Yeah.
It's still hard to do now.
It just would have been cool.
Yeah. Like, but I think if they tried to do that, like, it would still be hard to do.
We got a little bit. We got something close with like the paint and
some
stuff
water,
like that.
yeah.
Some water, but yeah.
But yeah, like it's still hard to do.
Yeah.
You know. But that's the other thing is like CGI has come far, but also it hasn't.
Yeah, it seems
still
to have
takes a lot of time.
It
Yeah.
bottlenecked.
It still takes a lot of time and a lot of processing power and a lot of.
And even now, most of it's still
And
shit.
Exactly.
And I feel like obviously the studios don't treat the CGI studios well. Like a lot of
Yeah.
the time they're unpaid or
Yeah, they
So-
do a lot of work and they
They do
just
a lot of-
most of the.
There needs to be I'm sure there has to be a union, right?
I don't think there is. That's why
they should unionize the hell
Yeah,
up.
I think they've been trying to, and of course Hollywood doesn't want that.
I mean, at the same time, like without going too much into politics, it's like, well, what's Hollywood going to do? Stop using CG? Well,
Yeah.
okay, go ahead. We won't complain.
Please do.
Yeah.
But
So it's like, I feel like CGI union. It's like, I mean,
yeah, but
well,
we talked
they have
about
all
it.
the power.
We talked about it a bit last week with the sci-fi movies, where with practical effects, those people are union. Those people, you have to pay them for every
Yeah.
minute they work. They have they're not might not necessarily be on set, but there's a workshop and there's it's, whereas the digital side of it, the CGI guys, it's like that's like a separate studio. They farm it out. They ship it out to them.
it's more easy to use because there's also a lot of
Yeah.
studios in like Southeast Asia,
Exactly.
and other countries.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
there's more paperwork
Yeah.
involved.
And that's, I think, one of the reasons why CGI always looks so shit is because those people just are pushed to their limit. Like, and they're just like,
Yeah.
just like, they're just like, oh yeah, just do it. And it's kind of like, no, this should be a process that takes place across the whole, from the very first day of pre-production to the very last day of editing.
Yeah.
But not just that, like we said with The Invisible Man, there needs to be a focus.
Exactly.
It's one of the reasons some of the MCU movies and a lot of other superhero movies have such terrible CGI is because I think the studio is just like, oh yeah, don't worry about it. Just, have the guy jumping around, whatever. Whereas they need to go full Logan, they need to go full, just start at the start and be like, okay, we're going to do this practically as much as possible. Then we'll augment it with CGI,
That's it.
Yeah,
but they don't.
pretty much.
I think a lot of it, like, we blame studios a lot. I think audiences are a big part of the problem.
Yeah,
People
but-
just don't care.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
don't.
People went to see Black Panther or Captain Marvel and were just fine with the bad CGI.
A lot of people also liked it. I'm like, people
Yeah.
do tend to
We-
enjoy the MCU.
People overlook really bad CG.
We talked about this once a long time ago, maybe on the old show, where people think practical effects look old and cheesy,
Yeah.
and they think CGI looks cool
Modern.
and realistic.
Yeah, man.
Just because it's modern, not because it actually
That's
is
it.
realistic. And especially if you had, let's take the xenomorph from the original Alien, which looks amazing and looks
Yeah.
realistic because it is a real thing.
It's a dude in a suit, and it's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Then you take the CGI alien from like Alien Covenant or whatever, which looks like shit,
Yeah.
but people would prefer the Alien Covenant version just to general audiences
I mean, you look at.
because it looks more modern and shiny,
Yeah.
and it's like they're used to that now.
I mean, you bring up. We recently rewatched Alien in 4K on the home setup, and everything's practical.
Yeah.
It looks to this day, it looks incredible.
Yeah.
because it's real in a sense. It held
It's-
up because
yeah.
it
Well,
can't look old.
I said this to on the last couple episodes when we're talking about the original Alien. I'm like, every penny of the budget is on screen.
Yeah, that's it.
And it's why I like The Invisible Man. It's like it uses its budget well.
$10 million is a fantastic looking movie for
Yeah.
10 mil.
Yeah. Like, obviously there's marketing and that, but I'm just
Yeah.
talking about production-wise.
Yeah, but production,
what they
still,
spent
yeah.
on it. Like, it looks really good. And I remember when I watched, you guys remember Channel Zero? That creepypasta
Yeah.
anthology? And that was like a low-budget show, and I think it was only like 6 episodes. And they asked like the showrunner, like, how do you look at it? And he said, good lighting costs the same as bad lighting.
Yeah.
He was like, that's all it takes for a low budget thing. It's like, yeah, you don't need to spend $200 million all the fucking time. And especially if you have no clue what you're doing in the first place, that money's just going...
Wasted.
It's wasted, yeah.
Yeah.
We saw it with 5 Star Wars movies in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just wasted money out the window.
And ironically, the best looking Star Wars content, looking in terms of production wise, is The Mandalorian, which is a TV show.
Yeah, which everyone loves because of the practical nature and the smaller scale.
Yeah.
Who'd have thunk it?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Maybe they should listen to this show. They do, because then they always do the opposite of what we say.
They always look at what we whinge about and can double down.
Yeah. God damn it. Yeah, I think that's it. You guys want to mention anything else?
I think we covered all the bases.
Yeah, I think it's a good movie. I'm excited to see what Leigh Whannell does next.
And
I can't say, like I said, I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
But he's an interesting director.
Yeah.
It looks nice. Like I said, I'm keen for whatever he's got coming out.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it's an impressive movie. Like, considering what they did and considering the odds were against them.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely.
And also, I like the fact that it's a Universal monster movie that's actually a horror movie.
Yeah.
Dracula Untold and
It's like an action film.
Yeah, and the Tom Cruise's version of The Mummy, they were action films. They were MCU rip-offs.
I mean, the Mummy was even more of an adventure film than an action film.
I mean, I know there was the Brendan Fraser Mummy films, which were
Adventurous,
adventure, but it's like
that was like its own thing.
That's its own thing.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm glad to have a Universal horror movie that is a horror movie.
A literal horror movie, yeah.
And that's another thing
Horror
they should,
thriller.
not just in terms of budget, but they should say, it's R-rated as well. Like that's what they should have done from the beginning. Yeah, we're going to reboot all these movies, but it's like, let's make them horror movies.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's not make them action adventure movies, so then we can have all the monsters tie in together and have a Avengers style battle.
Yeah.
Which would be fun, but
Yeah, no, I get you. I'd rather have the smaller movies.
The reason I love the original Invisible Man is because it's creepy.
Yeah.
Claude Rains is a creepy motherfucker.
I've never seen it.
It's great, and the special effects are actually really impressive for the time.
Actually, I still don't know how they did it today. I saw a picture.
When he takes off the bandages.
I was like, what the fuck?
I'm just like, fucking hell. I don't just.
No, like, what year was this man? I'm like, I
and they do the footprints in the snow, and I'm just like, fucking hell, man. Like, wow. Yeah. But it's just great to have the modern equivalent of that now. It's just like horror, like smaller scale horror movies. Well, it's like not worrying about.
We've got. Let's hope Universal continues doing interesting things. We've got The Hunt coming soon. I haven't seen the trailer for that.
Is that Universal?
That's Universal. I haven't seen the trailer for that, but I've seen the poster. The poster looks amazing.
This is off topic but I mean, I guess we'll talk about it since you brought it up. But this movie was supposed to come out over a year ago, right? Or at least a year ago.
Oh, is this the incel one?
It's the Eat the Rich movie.
Yeah.
So one, there's a great Mads Mikkelsen movie called The Hunt, which is about a teacher who's falsely accused of being a pedophile. A great movie, great drama.
Oh, yeah, I know that
very emotionally raw.
Yeah.
So this movie being called The Hunt, I know a lot of people haven't seen the Mads Mikkelsen movie, and that's not a big famous movie. But the fact that it's just called The Hunt, it puts me off.
Yeah.
But that's not a problem. So apparently it's a movie about rich people who pay to have...
Rich liberals or rich progressives pay to hunt conservatives or something like that.
Oh, is it that?
That's what... Because I know it was banned. They wouldn't release it.
I thought it was just rich people in general.
I might be wrong.
Like hunting poor people or hunting regular
that might be right,
people.
but let me look that up. I know there was a movie where conservatives were hunted for sport and they didn't release it.
That sounds like a conservative's wet dream, not a liberal's wet dream.
Yeah,
I know.
Like
they're kind of switching the tables there. But anyway, then what happened? Was there a school shooting or something happened? I mean,
no, it would have been I think it might have been something to do with one of the neo-Nazi incidents in America.
Charlottesville, maybe.
Something like that.
Yeah. But so they didn't...
Oh, no. Yeah, it was a shooting. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So then they didn't release it. And then, it's been over a year now and they're going to re-release it again. But I'm like, if they just released it in the first place, probably no one would have seen it and would have been fine. But now it's got all this press around it. So I guess on one hand, that marketing, extra marketing, but also it's probably not going to be that good of a movie. And I wouldn't have seen it anyway.
Yeah, it is. It was originally called Left State versus Blue State. And it's about rich progressives hunting MAGA kind of people. And so after the mass shooting, they decided it was a bit risky. So
now I want to see the movie because
it's loosely based on The Most Dangerous Game, but it's like a political version.
Because I'm
in quotation marks.
I'm interested in seeing how they play that, like, because I thought
it's basically, from what I understand, it's just reverse Purge.
Yeah, but it's like I thought it was just rich people hunting poor people, and it's like the whole theme of the movie was like an eat the rich thing. It's like these people are destroying us, which is what's happening now in real life. But you're saying if it's rich progressive or left-leaning people hunting conservative, that's a very targeted right-wing message.
According to Time, it's a satirical thriller wherein wealthy Americans hunt deplorables, MAGA supporters for sport.
It sounds like a weird movie with a weird message.
Okay. Now we have to see this movie because I'm getting a lot of mixed messages. I'm getting a lot of information. I'm not sure how much is true.
Well, no, all the articles I've seen are from pretty established media organizations.
But I think like I had no interest in seeing this movie. Now I think I have to see it just out of curiosity and to see what the actual
the only reason
trying to do.
The only reason I brought it up is because it's Universal's next movie with Blumhouse.
Yeah, so
the poster is fucking cool. Have you seen the international poster?
I saw the one. I didn't see that one. I saw the one. There was one with a pig head or something.
Yeah, no. There's a new.
It's supposed to illustrate how big the political divide is in the America at the moment. Like anyone needs an explanation about that.
The international poster for listeners at home is released for the UK market. Has trees turning into guns. And people running through like a forest of like tree guards. It just looks real cool.
Yeah,
I think that all of the political drama surrounding this film is likely to be overstated.
Yeah, I feel like I said, if the movie had just come out when it was supposed to, no one would have seen it. No one would have talked about it.
Hey, but they're taking risks. Universal's taking more risk.
I think it will be people hunting conservatives, but I think that'll probably be one scene where they'll be like, oh yeah, we all voted for Donald or some shit, and then that'll be like forgotten for the rest of the film.
We definitely have to see this film now because I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what to think about it.
I have no idea what the movie's about.
I just assumed it was rich people hunting poor people or hunting quote unquote normal people. You know,
keep in mind it is satire.
Yeah, but it's like. Anyway, but yeah, I don't take that as Universal taking a risk.
No,
because that was just a shitty horror movie that they were going to dump. But then it drummed up controversy because of the shooting. Otherwise, it would have just been dumped and no one would have seen it. But I guess it kind of worked out for them because now I'm going to see it. Now I had no intention of doing so before.
I mean, if it comes to our theaters,
it probably will. It's a horror film.
It's horror. I reckon it.
They all pretty much come out.
Yeah. Hopefully. Actually, look it up. The Hunt release released at Australia.
But yeah, so I think hopefully it'll be an interesting film. It's likely to be overblown like most of these movies are.
It's probably a nothing. And you know what? It's probably not even going to be a good movie.
Yeah, no.
I mean, the trailer didn't look very good from when I saw it the first time, a year ago or whatever, when the movie was supposed to come out. But yeah, fingers crossed for the Dark Universe, if they're still calling it that. And yeah, hopefully they just make cool one-off, horror movies based on, I hope they don't ruin Creature from the Black Lagoon because I love that movie.
You know what I would like in terms of that film? I was thinking about this the other day because I saw an article. It'd be really interesting if it was like a kind of like a slower, almost Lovecraftian film.
Yeah.
Like maybe even a noir, like a detective has to investigate some murders.
Or they could play up the whole archaeological, paleontological
like
side
a Call of Cthulhu kind of experience.
Yeah,
like
and they could have
dark and weird investigation.
Like the first half of the movie could just be the whole like finding the fossils and finding the Black Lagoon. Like lost in the jungle, and it could work. Yeah. But I reckon they'll ruin it.
No, it'll be a real simple...
It'll be a shit show. Yeah. The creature will probably be CGI nonsense.
Flubbery.
But it's like also like... Because like Frankenstein and Dracula, like that's been done so many times.
Yeah.
Like what can they do differently? It's like Lee Winnell found out a way to do the Invisible Man differently and from a different perspective. But yeah, I feel like Frankenstein and Dracula, like I don't know. Hopefully they can pull it off, but I don't know if they can.
No, I would just leave those properties alone. Spend that creative energy making new properties.
But we talk like they don't make new properties; they just make.
Like I understand they have the rights to these classic characters.
Yeah,
but it's not necessary.
Yeah, I mean, but if they are going to do it well,
Apparently, The Hunt is slated to be released in Australian theaters on the 23rd of April.
That's not too far. Yeah, a month and a bit.
So we'll see how we go.
Yeah.
And it's still not on any of the actual theatre websites yet, coming soon or anything, so we'll just have to wait.
It might get delayed again, who knows. Maybe we'll talk about it on the show. I guess we talked about it now, so Do
If
people
it's any
care?
good, if it's shit,
If
we
you-
just don't
yeah.
talk about it.
Does anyone listening care what we talk about anymore? I don't know.
As far as we're concerned, we just talk into the wind
Yeah,
anyway.
we're just yelling into the ether. Like
We're still going to yell.
Yeah.
Might as well upload it.
we used to be like, oh, what's the content, the good content for the listeners? But now it's just like, what do we want to talk about? What's fun? But yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes.
I reckon that's it.
That's it. All right. Thanks everyone for listening. If you are still listening, thank you for listening in general.
We very much do appreciate
We
it.
do really appreciate it. And also, I know there might be a lot of people who listening who like don't interact with the or message us.
Please do.
Please just say hi.
At the very least, drop us a review. Let us know what you like, what you don't
Oh,
like.
We've read a couple
yeah.
of reviews.
Definitely-
We're very impressed.
Definitely rate, review, and subscribe on like iTunes or your podcasting app or whatever. Because I think the more reviews we have, the more positive reviews we have, the more higher we go in the
more
overall
exposure.
charts and the more exposure we get. But also if there's something you like about the show and want us to expand upon,
Or dislike.
yeah, or if you something you dislike about the show and want us to rein
out.
in, yeah. But also at the end of the day, we'll probably just ramble on the same way we always do.
Why change the habit of life?
Yeah.
But target our ramblings, listeners.
Yeah.
Focus us.
Focus our rage. Yeah, thanks for listening. We appreciate you. Like and share the Tuesday Review Facebook page if you already haven't, and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Tuesday Review AU. I posted a couple of crappy memes during the Oscars. They weren't good, but they exist. Follow me on Instagram at Channel Drifter. I post every time I watch a movie, I make a little post and a little review. And I watch so many movies that I don't get to mention on this show. So if you want to keep up with what I've been watching, definitely check that out. Follow me at Channel Drifter. And yeah, also with that as well, message me on Instagram and say if there's something you want me to review, or if you're curious about something, let me know. If you like video games, check out Alan, Jake, and Nathan's show, Sunrise Arcade. And our friend Matty J has his automotive discussion show, Car Talk. And you can check those out wherever you listen to podcasts. And yeah, like I said, make sure to rate, review, and subscribe to Tuesday Review on iTunes. It helps us out a lot. And yeah, just send us a message or just say hi, and we'll just say hi back. We don't have to discuss anything.
We just want to know
Just
people exist.
Let us know we're not just shouting into nothingness.
We're so lonely.
Yeah. We just want to talk about movies. No one's listening. Hey, you know who the real Invisible Man is? Our audience. No, we love you. We love you all who are listening. Even the one person listening, we love you. You're our cousins. We do appreciate you. And yeah, hopefully, we're just hoping to get a couple more cousins.
And we're going to keep doing this. So tune in every week. We're
honestly,
still here.
Yeah, honestly, even if no one listens and no one, we'll probably just keep doing it because we always
We
go
have
to
a
the
good
movies
time.
and ramble on anyway, so might as well record it.
It is a hobby.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks everyone, and we'll see you next week. Adios, cousins.